Hey guys, welcome back to Rush. So, you want to buy a Nissan Skyline GTR? Awesome. Well, today I want to talk to you about the process I went through to purchase this car here, a stock R32 GTR. What you need to look out for, a few tips and tricks along the way so you find the perfect car. Obviously these things are going up in value, they're super collectible right now, especially with the US 25-year import rule increasing prices globally. Probably 10 years ago you could pick these up in Australia for 12 to 15 grand for an average quality one, but now they're upwards of 40, 50, 60 and upwards from there for a V-spec model. And same goes for R33s, they're just going up rapidly as well. R34s have been through the roof for quite some time, probably continue to increase. So the things to look out for, especially if you're importing, I'll go through a few scenarios if you're importing or just buying it online or locally. So especially if you're importing it from Japan, this is the method I went through to purchase this car. What you want to first look at is the Japanese auction grading system if it's come from an auction. This is a really good way, a really simple way to get a quick understanding of the car, the quality, what it's been through, any history. So the Japanese auction grading system is quite simple. They use a grading system from 1 to 5 for the overall condition of the car and the outside condition and mechanicals, with 5 being a brand new car. So for example, this car here, my car was a grade 4, so that is a very good condition. There are also half grades as well, so it can be 3.5, 4.5, etc. So then if we look at the interiors, for example, A to D, with A being a new car. This car, for example, was a C, which I feel was graded quite harshly, and it's probably not reflective of the actual condition. The interior is immaculate in this thing. There's no tears, no dash bubbles, everything works. But I think it got graded down because it has an aftermarket steering wheel and an aftermarket stereo. Just on the actual grading, auction grading paperwork too, there is a ton more information on those sheets. I'll put some up on the screen now so you can have a look. Things like if it's had any other work done to the car, modifications, things like air conditioning, if that's been working and operational. So that is a really good guide and a first step if you are looking at bringing in a car from auction, or if you're going through an import company in, say, for example, Australia or the States. Be sure to ask for that Japanese auction grade paperwork. Obviously, another really important thing is trying to get as much history on the car as possible. This can obviously go a long way if you have paperwork, if you have logbooks, if you have insurance papers, or you can check the claims on the car. Another really good tip is checking the GTR registry website. I'll put the link in the description. So this is a really helpful tool to actually check the VIN numbers on Skylines and GTRs, because if you're buying, say, a silver car, you enter the VIN and it shows up on the database register as black, you know it's been repainted, therefore there may be some damage, so it'll be worth investigating that further or asking more questions. The GTR register also tells you if it's a V-spec model, so it will tell you if it's a base model or a V-spec, V-spec 2 for example, and any other upgrades from factory, so that's really helpful. Again, if it's got V-spec stickers on it, doesn't necessarily mean it's a V-spec, so double check that number. So obviously, probably the best thing you can do is actually visually inspecting and driving the car. So if you have the opportunity to do so, if it's local or if you're super dedicated and you head over to Japan yourself to check it and drive it, this is generally your best bet. You can see the car, not everything shows up in photos or the history or videos for that matter. So if you can really get up and close with the car, check the paint, check if there's any rust, check the engine, all the mechanicals, all the electrics, the interior yourself, that is obviously your best bet. So we'll take a walk around my car, this R32 GTR 94 model, and have a look at some of the things that you should be looking out for, especially with 32 GTRs, but some of these will apply for 33s, but also GTSTs as well. So something to look out for is definitely rust in the boot and rust around the sills. So it's worthwhile peeling up the carpet, looking right in the boot, getting right under there to really inspect the car properly. See if it's got its jack in there. Everything should be in place. Spare tyres, for example. There's usually and can be little bits of rust under here. Little spot all down there, so yeah, definitely suss that out really closely. Again, all the sills around here, definitely have a close look at them. Water can get trapped in there. Down the sides here too, you can see where it could potentially be trapped. Also, things like this under the rear wiper, water gets caught in there. So that's a really key place for rust. Another area for water to get trapped is in this spoiler. I've heard lots of people say that water gets stuck up in this spoiler. Never happened to this particular car, but water can get trapped in there. Another good sign of general wear and tear is obviously the wheels, but also up in the guards. This is a really big place where rust can be found in R32 GTRs. Definitely down in this sill under here. The overall condition of the interior is obviously a good telltale sign of if the car's been looked after or not. This is a place in the seat where it definitely tears on R32s because of the bolstering and the bucket seats. So definitely look out for clean seats. And obviously check if all the gauges work, air conditioning, climate control, all those sort of things. Check the kilometers. Now this is something that happens a lot on R32s just by the very nature of how these dashes were manufactured. They usually bubble right here, all along here, and also they peel up around the air vents here. So that's a really good sign to look out for if your car's been, undercover. Most Japanese households don't have garages, so these cars often sit out in the weather, and this bubbles up. Obviously in that heat the glue delaminates and then it pops up, which is not a good look. So definitely look out for that. And something else to look at in the interior is the rear seats and the rear vinyl. That often delaminates as well, so don't forget to look in the back seat. So looking at the engine bay now in the RB26, this plenum often discolours. It's not usually black like that. Some of the models actually have silver, but on these R32s, that really flakes off really easily. You want to look at these rear lines on the back firewall too, because often when engines are being taken out, these get all bent up and crooked, and if they're all straight, that is a good sign. You want to check all your levels too. So if they're in between min and max and the fluid looks clean, then obviously the car's been taken care of. Often on these R32s, the rain seals and the rubber seals kind of fray and perish, and that can let water in. So sometimes down near the battery, you get a little bit of surface rust, so it's worthwhile checking there. Also underneath the airbox, or in this case the air filters, that's where water can be trapped as well. So definitely look out for little areas where water can be trapped and obviously sit and rust away. And always you want to check for oil leaks or any fluid leaks around the engine. Down low, get underneath the car, really check for any leaks or drops of water on the ground too. This is an easy way to tell if there's any more serious issues. Now just looking under the car, often when these cars get jacked up, when they're at the workshop, in the garage, they get jacked up incorrectly. So the rails really bend. This is really common on R32s. That beam is actually not very strong, so it just crumples. So definitely look out for that. Try and get pictures if you can. If you can't visually inspect the car, ask the seller to send you some pictures underneath the car. Inspect everything, check everything's in order, any oil leaks on the ground, any rust, potential issues. One of the most beneficial things I did when purchasing or looking for an R32 GTR was to take the car to a mechanic of my choice. If you can, get in touch with a JDM, Nissan or GTR mechanic. I recommend doing that because they will know these cars inside out and better than anyone else. I was dead set keen on 3 previous R32 GTRs that I'd seen online and hadn't been able to inspect myself. I organised to send them to JDM mechanic in Australia. What I found was pretty shocking. I'm so glad I spent that $200 to $300 each on those inspections because the cars were not great. They had rust, the interiors weren't what they said. A big one was in one of the cars, it had really low compression in 2 cylinders. So that's a surefire way to tell that the engine is at the end of its life. Definitely recommend getting a compression and leak test. They proved really valuable for me. So if I didn't have that inspection done, I probably would have purchased the car, got it home and then realised it wasn't what I was told and it wasn't what I expected. So obviously you can potentially lose at this price point thousands of dollars. So get that test done. If you can do it yourself, even better, save a couple of $100. Something worth mentioning too is just take your time. Don't be in a rush. They made 45,000 roughly of the R32 GTRs, less of the 33s obviously, but good cars are still out there. I shopped around for 6 months for this particular car. I wanted something perfect that I was really happy with within my price range. I got, like I said, 3 others checked. I shopped for every single other car in Australia that was available over that 6-month period, but also looked on the Japanese auction sites, spoke to tons and tons of people. Another great place to be shopping and looking for cars and getting advice is the SAU forum, Skylines Australia forum. They have a classified section. There's lots of cars that pop up on that forum as well, so definitely check that out. So yeah, take your time, make sure it's the right car, make sure you're 100% happy with it before you throw down thousands of dollars. So that's really it for today, guys. I hope you found that helpful. Good luck with your purchase. Let me know how you go in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, send me a comment. This is a new channel, so I'd really appreciate your support.